To be fond of dancing was a certain step towards falling in love. Gravitation is not responsible for people falling in love. I think that one of the things that you do learn is that falling in love and being in love with someone is a rarity, that you don't fall in love as many times as you think you're going to. And then when you do, it's really special, it's really important. Most of my songs are inspired by both falling in love and heartache, and it was a turning point for me as a singer and songwriter as it dawned on me that I wasn't being honest enough about what I truly feel. There's a big difference between falling in love with someone and falling in love with someone and getting married. Usually, after you get married, you fall in love with the person even more. I find America falling in love with a TV show flattering and interesting, but at the same time a little sad. When we're falling in love or out of it, that's when we most need a song that says how we feel. Yeah, I write a lot of songs about boys, and I'm very happy to do that. Young Love is about falling in love and dealing with your past so you can move forward. I wanted it to be a clear record. Falling in love consists merely in uncorking the imagination and bottling the common sense. Setting my mind on a musical instrument was like falling in love. All the world seemed bright and changed. I have never had any issues with falling in love, dating, sustaining long-term relationships, or attracting great men in my life who have loved me unconditionally. All love stories are tales of beginnings. When we talk about falling in love, we go to the beginning, to pinpoint the moment of freefall. During the ballad years for me, the politics was latent. I was just falling in love with the ballads and my boyfriend, and there was the beauty of the songs. If you can show something as complicated as two people falling in love with just music and camera angles, well, just think about what you can do with football. When you're an artist, there's always a moment in your life when you think you're not inspired, and instead of doing things and instead of travel and instead of falling in love, you're just depressed. So you don't move, so you don't change, so you're not inspired. I love making music and I'm falling in love with making records, so it's like having two girlfriends, but I can handle it. Well, I kind of did the math in my head when I was like 9. I was like, well, if I want to make films, because I want to be a director, I could just go on a film set and learn there. And then I ended up falling in love with acting and the set and making friends all the time. And so I've just been doing that ever since. I really liked falling in love with cities that I had actively disliked before. I'm a firm believer in love and falling in love. If you were falling in love and you could go back in time and relive a day and see the banal things you did that you'd forgotten about, you'd weep, looking at that day. I learned that leadership is about falling in love with the people and the people falling in love with you. It is about serving the people with selflessness, with sacrifice, and with the need to put the common good ahead of personal interests. Falling in love is a chemical reaction, but it wears off in a year. That's why you need a strong line of communication, which includes laughter. We never get enough of falling in love and believing in love. There's nothing wrong with falling in love and sharing your life with someone. The crisis of democracy in the West is not the result of falling in love with another system. In Europe and America, people who are disillusioned with democracy do not dream about the Chinese model or any other form of authoritarian rule. They do not dream about government that controls internet and puts in prison those daring to disagree. Falling in love in high school and falling out of love, it's very digital. I've had breakups where they've called me to tell me we were done, and I've gotten a lot of text messages from an old girlfriend letting me know how she felt about me after we had ended everything. I always had a penchant for falling in love. Every time I found myself without a mate, I fell into a state of low sizzling panic. Red is such an interesting color to correlate with emotion, because it's on both ends of the spectrum. On one end you have happiness, falling in love, infatuation with someone, passion, all that. On the other end, you've got obsession, jealousy, danger, fear, anger and frustration. Every time I get a script, it's a matter of trying to know what I could do with it. I see colors, imagery. It has to have a smell. It's like falling in love. You can't give a reason why. Falling in love was the easy part. Planning a wedding, yikes. Falling in love is a narcissistic endeavor. You play the role of lover, and you find someone to act it out on. Falling in love is awesome, but I'm never drawn to happy songs per se, so whenever you sit down to write a heartbreak song and you're happily in love, it's like, okay, now I have to go back to a sad place to get something good. I don't think with any book you get used to people falling in love with the story. It's been incredible just to realize your books are being read. It's a pretty amazing feeling. On rare occasions one does hear of a miraculous case of a married couple falling in love after marriage, but on close examination it will be found that it is a mere adjustment to the inevitable. If you're thinking like that, does this person want me for me? Then you're gonna have a hell of a hard time falling in love, 'cause you're constantly thinking about what they look like on paper. Falling in love is the best way to kill your heart because then it's not yours anymore. It's laid in a coffin, waiting to be cremated. 2 things revolutionized life: moving to the countryside and falling in love. In terms of my marriage, falling in love with my husband was by far the best thing that's ever happened to me. In general, between an actor and a character, there needs to be a falling in love, if you will, which I'm saying in quotes. I've spent important times of my life in Spain and Greece, and various deep things happened there, falling in love, stuff like that. Falling in love is terrible. It makes you act foolish, like an idiot. The priesthood is a marriage. People often start by falling in love, and they go on for years without realizing that love must change into some other love which is so unlike it that it can hardly be recognized as love at all. I found the experience of falling in love or being in love was a death of everything. You kind of watch yourself die in a wonderful way, and you experience for the briefest moment, if you see yourself for a moment through their eyes, everything you believed about yourself gone. In a death and rebirth sense. There is that awful moment when you realize that you're falling in love. That should be the most joyful moment, and actually it's not. It's always a moment that's full of fear because as night follows day, the joy is going to rapidly be followed by some pain or other. All the angst of a relationship. When you are missing someone, time seems to move slower, and when I'm falling in love with someone, time seems to be moving faster. The key is falling in love with something, anything. If your heart's attached to it, then your mind will be attached to it. Imagination which comes into play in falling in love is different from any other. Certainly in my case, and I've fallen in love all my life, one imagines the person to be as you want them to be. They frequently turn out to be someone different, for better or worse. I've always considered myself a fairly romantic person. I believe in love and falling in love at a young age. Anna Karenina is just a story about a woman falling in love with a bloke who is not her husband. It's gossip, rubbish. On the other hand, it's the deepest story there could be about social transgression, about love, betrayal, duty, children. It seems to me that romantic comedies used to be about falling in love, but in recent years they've really become just comedies where the love story is only there as a spine to hang the jokes on. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.